Welcome back to the Divine Frequency Online podcast.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to do a deep dive into something that might seem a little counterintuitive, the power of surrender.
Okay.
We'll be looking at this through two sources, an article that really digs into the spiritual side of letting go, and then also a guided meditation video that focuses on trusting the flow of the universe.
Interesting, right. We're always told to kind of like take control of our lives,
Right.
set goals and make things happen.
Right.
But these sources, they're suggesting that maybe real power comes when we release that control a little bit.
I think that's what was so intriguing about the article.
Yeah.
It starts off with this question: how do we reconcile, the advice to kind of seize control with that spiritual concept of surrender?
Yeah.
It almost feels like we're being pulled in opposite directions.
Yeah, and I think to understand that, what we mean by spiritual surrender is important. It's not about giving up on your dreams or anything like that or becoming passive, but it's more about letting go of that attachment to a specific outcome and trusting that there's something, a higher wisdom, I guess you could say, that's guiding us.
So it's less about resignation and more about a conscious choice
Exactly.
to trust in a greater plan,
Yeah,
even if we don't fully understand it.
exactly.
And I like how the meditation video uses that analogy of a river
Yes.
to describe how, we often struggle against the current, trying to force things to go our way.
Right.
But when we relax and allow ourselves to, be carried by the river, we actually move forward
Yeah,
easier.
absolutely. And with grace.
And with grace, yeah.
So that's where the concept of the ego comes in.
Okay.
The article describes the ego as that part of us that always wants to plan, predict every step of the journey.
Right.
But the soul understands that sometimes letting go allows us to align more fully with our true path, even if that path, takes some twists and turns that we didn't expect.
So it's about surrendering that ego's need for control and allowing the soul's intuition to guide us.
Exactly. And this idea of surrender isn't just some new age concept.
Right.
It's found in a lot of spiritual traditions.
Oh, interesting.
For example, in yoga, there's a practice called Ishvara Pranidhana, which translates to surrender to a higher power. And then similarly, in Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment encourages us to, let go of clinging to desires and outcomes.
It's so fascinating to see how this concept shows up in different cultures and spiritual practices.
Yeah, it really speaks to a universal truth, I think, that when we loosen our grip on control,
Right.
we open ourselves up to that greater flow, of wisdom and guidance and support.
So how do we know if we're resisting this flow?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What are some signs that we might be clinging too tightly?
The article points to, a few key things like chronic stress, repeating the same challenges over and over again, feeling stuck or stagnant, fearing the unknown, and overthinking.
We've all been there, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like clenching your fists against the current instead of opening your hands and letting it carry you.
Right.
The meditation video, it adds another layer to this.
Okay.
It describes how we might be tightening our muscles against the flow of life.
Oh, okay.
And it encourages us to notice where we're holding that tension in our bodies and to practice relaxing into the present moment.
Sometimes our resistance isn't just mental.
Right.
It manifests physically as well.
Exactly. And this is where the benefits of surrender, they really start to become apparent.
Yeah.
You create space for greater ease and peace and joy when you let go of that resistance.
Right.
And the article, it highlights a number of benefits, including, reduced anxiety, increased clarity, a deeper sense of purpose, and even a greater ability to manifest our desires.
So it's not about giving up on goals. It's about aligning ourselves with a power that can help us achieve them.
Right, exactly.
And it reminds me of something in the meditation video. It emphasizes the importance of recognizing our interconnectedness
Yes.
with everything around us.
Yeah.
It says that we're not separate individuals.
Right.
We're part of this vast interconnected web of life.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Right. To move from feeling like we're separate and alone to knowing that we're connected and supported.
Exactly.
I actually wanted to mention a fantastic resource.
Okay.
If any of this is resonating with you,
Okay.
if you want to explore these concepts further, I highly recommend checking out etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Oh, yeah. It's a great website.
They have a lot of information on spirituality, personal growth, and connecting with your intuition.
It's a wonderful resource.
But even though I'm, starting to grasp the potential benefits of surrender, I have to admit, I still feel a little scared
I understand.
to let go of control. What if things fall apart?
That's a very natural fear.
Right.
But the meditation video, it offers a really nice reassurance. It reminds us that the universe is benevolent.
Oh.
It wants the best for us.
Okay.
We are loved and supported, even when we can't see the full picture.
So how do we start putting this idea into practice? Where do we even begin?
Well, both the article and the meditation video offer some steps we can take.
Okay.
One of the first things the article emphasizes is cultivating trust.
Okay.
And it suggests using affirmations, like repeating phrases like, I trust that the universe has my back, or I am safe and guided.
So we're retraining our minds to think in a new way.
Exactly. And then building on that idea of trust, the article also encourages us to release the need for perfection.
Right, because it's so easy to get caught up in that.
It is.
And we forget to allow ourselves to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And that's where practices like meditation and visualization can come in.
Right.
The meditation video guides listeners to imagine releasing control and to visualize like placing their worries into the hands of something greater.
That sounds really powerful.
It is. It really is. And another key practice that both sources highlight is detachment.
Now, when you say detachment, you don't mean becoming apathetic.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's not about not caring. It's more about not being so attached to a specific outcome and instead focusing on our intentions and allowing the universe to work its magic.
So being open to the possibility that maybe the universe has something even better in store
Exactly.
than we could thought of ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes a simple prayer of surrender can be like incredibly powerful when we're feeling overwhelmed or lost.
Okay.
And the article gives an example. I release my need to control this situation. I trust in your divine plan for my highest good.
And you know what else? Both sources talk about paying attention to signs and synchronicities.
Yes, those are so important.
It's like the universe is talking to us.
Yeah, it's like little winks,
Right.
confirming we're on the right track
Exactly.
when we surrender to that flow.
Right, so it's about noticing those meaningful coincidences
Yeah, exactly.
that feel like confirmation.
Yeah, and sometimes those signs come as opportunities or challenges that push us outside of our comfort zones.
And lead to growth.
Yeah, I love that perspective.
Me too.
Speaking of guidance, I wanted to mention that resource we talked about before.
Oh yeah, etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Yes.
If you want more tools and resources, definitely check that out.
They have so much information on spirituality and personal growth and connecting with your intuition.
They're really great.
It is. And there's one more point from the meditation video I thought was interesting.
Oh.
It personifies fear as a scared child.
I remember that.
It's such a powerful image.
It is.
It suggests that when we're feeling doubtful or afraid, we should try to approach those feelings with the same gentleness we'd offer a frightened child.
It makes you wonder how we can apply that compassion to ourselves when we're going through uncertainty.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we're all on a journey, and it's okay to feel scared or unsure.
Right.
The key is to treat ourselves with kindness, just like we would that child who needs reassurance.
That's a great message to carry with us as we explore this idea of surrender.
I agree.
And I think it leads perfectly into the next part of our conversation, where we'll delve a little bit deeper into the steps we can take to cultivate that trust, let go of control, and embrace the flow of the universe.
You know, before we move on, I wanted to touch on something you said about surrender being about aligning ourselves with a power that can help us achieve our goals.
Yeah, I'd love to explore that a little more.
Well, one thing that stuck out to me in the article was that surrender isn't about giving up on what we want to accomplish in life.
Right, so it's not just sitting back and waiting for things to come to us.
Exactly. It's about understanding that there's a greater force out there that can support us in reaching our goals, but it requires us to loosen up on how we think those goals need to happen.
So it's like surrendering the how, but not the what.
Exactly. And that's where I think the magic happens. When we let go of our own limited perspective and let something bigger step in, we open ourselves up to possibilities that we might never have even considered.
And that's kind of like what the meditation video talks about, encouraging us to go with the flow instead of fighting against it.
Yes. It's like you can choose to struggle against the current or ride the wave.
And when we choose to ride that wave, it's like we're tapping into a power that can really move us forward.
Absolutely. We become co-creators with the universe. You know, we set our intentions, we do our part, and then we trust that things will work out in a way that's truly for the best.
That's a great way to put it. And when we really embrace that trust, we naturally start feeling more peace, more joy, and a deeper sense of connection to something beyond ourselves. Speaking of connection, one thing that really stood out to me in the meditation video was its emphasis on the interconnectedness of everything.
Oh, absolutely. It talks about how the universe orchestrates everything in harmony, from the sun and the wind to the growth of plants and even, the creation of humans.
Right. It's a powerful reminder that we're not just isolated individuals struggling to control our little worlds, but rather integral parts of this much bigger, more intricate web of life.
Exactly. It's about shifting from that feeling of being separate and alone to recognizing that we are all connected and part of something much greater.
That brings us back to the practical steps we were talking about earlier. What are some things we can actually do to cultivate this sense of surrender and trust in our lives?
Both the Vidical and the meditation video give some really good advice. One of the first things they both talk about is the importance of building that foundation of trust, starting with affirmations.
You mentioned those earlier.
hmm
Could you give us a few specific examples of affirmations we could use?
Absolutely. The article mentions phrases like, I trust that the universe has my back, or I am guided and protected, but you can also come up with your own affirmations that speak to you personally.
So it's about finding language that feels genuine and powerful for you.
Exactly. And the key is to say these affirmations regularly, whether it's first thing in the morning, throughout the day, or before you go to sleep.
Right. It's about consciously shifting our thoughts.
Exactly. And another practice that can help us surrender more is releasing the need for perfection.
I think that's a huge one for a lot of us. We tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do everything perfectly.
We do, and the article reminds us that perfection is an illusion. It's a human-made idea that can hold us back from truly living.
So how can we start to let go of that need for perfection?
The article suggests embracing mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow. It encourages us to be more curious and playful in our approach to life, allowing ourselves to experiment and make mistakes without beating ourselves up over it.
That's a much more freeing way to look at it. It takes the pressure off and lets us enjoy the process more.
And speaking of enjoying the journey, the meditation video emphasizes the importance of staying present in each moment instead of getting stuck in the past or worried about the future.
Which is easier said than done sometimes.
I know. But the more we practice bringing our attention to the now, the more we'll notice the beauty and richness that's already in our lives.
Right, it's about appreciating the gifts of the present moment, even the challenging ones.
Exactly. One of the simplest ways to do this is through mindfulness. Paying attention to your breath, noticing sensations in your body, or even just observing the world around you with a sense of curiosity and openness.
Mindfulness has become such a popular concept these days.
And for good reason. It's a powerful tool for calming the mind, reducing stress, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and the present moment.
So it's about training our attention to be fully present right here, right now.
Right, and the more we practice mindfulness, the more attuned we become to those subtle hints and guidance that the universe is always giving us.
That reminds me of those synchronicities we were talking about, those little signs that pop up when we're aligned with the flow of life.
Yes, the meditation video calls them breadcrumbs from the universe, leading us along our path.
So it's about paying attention to those seemingly random coincidences and being open to the messages they might be carrying.
Exactly. Sometimes those messages come in the form of an unexpected phone call, a chance encounter, or a sudden idea that pops into your head.
It could even be like a book or a podcast episode that seems to speak directly to something you're going through.
Precisely. And the more we open ourselves to these signs, the more we start to see how everything is connected and how the universe is always working in our favor.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're not on this journey alone.
And speaking of not being alone, I wanted to mention that great website again, etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Yes, it's a fantastic resource for anyone looking to explore these topics further.
They have forums, articles, online courses, so much to offer.
It's a great way to connect with others who are on the same path of spiritual growth and exploration.
And along with all that, I wanted to share a few more techniques that can be especially helpful when it comes to surrendering, especially if we're feeling overwhelmed or anxious.
I'm all ears.
One technique that the article talks about is visualization. Creating a mental picture of yourself, releasing your worries and anxieties to a higher power.
So it's like a visual representation of letting go.
Exactly. The article even gives this beautiful visualization exercise where you imagine holding all your worries in your hands, and then with each exhale, you release them into a loving, supportive energy that surrounds you.
That sounds really peaceful.
It is. It's incredibly soothing. And then another simple but powerful technique for when we're feeling stressed is to just pause and take a few deep breaths.
We can do that anytime, anywhere.
Exactly. And the article explains that when we slow down our breath, we activate the part of our nervous system that calms the body and mind.
So it's a physical way to shift from that fight or flight mode into a more relaxed and receptive state.
Right. And sometimes when we're feeling completely overwhelmed, a simple prayer can be incredibly grounding.
You shared a prayer example earlier. Do you have another one?
I do. The meditation video offers this one. I surrender to the flow of life. I trust that I am exactly where I need to be right now. I release all fear and resistance and open myself to the guidance of the universe.
That's beautiful. It's a reminder that even when things feel uncertain, we can choose to surrender and trust that we're being taken care of.
Exactly. Sometimes that act of surrender is all we need to shift our perspective and open ourselves up to new possibilities.
It's like taking a deep breath and letting go of the weight of the world.
And another powerful way to support ourselves in surrendering is to start paying attention to our intuition.
What do you mean by intuition?
Intuition is that inner voice or knowing that speaks to us, often in subtle ways like a gut feeling or a quiet sense of knowing.
It's like knowing something without needing a logical explanation.
Exactly. And the meditation video really encourages us to start tuning into those quiet nudges and insights that come from within.
So it's about trusting our own internal guidance system.
Exactly. The more we practice listening to our intuition, the more confident we'll feel in making decisions that are truly aligned with our heart and soul.
It's about tapping into that inner wisdom that we all have.
And one of the most amazing things about surrendering to the flow of life is that it brings us all sorts of synchronicities and unexpected opportunities.
We talked about synchronicities before, those meaningful coincidences that seem to happen when we're on the right track.
They're like little gifts from the universe, letting us know we're moving in the right direction.
So it's about noticing those moments when things just seem to fall into place effortlessly.
And recognizing that it's not just random chance, but rather the universe orchestrating things behind the scenes.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're supported and guided on this journey.
And speaking of support, let's mention that wonderful online community again, etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Yes, if you're enjoying this conversation and want to explore these ideas further, that's a great place to start.
They have forums, online courses, and tons of resources on topics like meditation, mindfulness, intuition, and connecting with your higher self.
It's a great way to connect with like-minded people and find support on your journey.
And as we keep talking about surrender, it's important to remember that it's not about achieving some perfect state of surrender. It's a journey, a process of continuously letting go and trusting.
Some days will be easier than others, for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm.
There will be times when those old patterns of fear and doubt creep back in.
So what can we do in those moments when we feel ourselves resisting surrender?
The meditation video offers this beautiful advice. Treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion you would offer a scared child.
That image is so powerful.
It is. It reminds us that it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel uncertain. We're human. The key is to be gentle with ourselves, to acknowledge our feelings without judgment, and to remember that we're not alone in this.
And to remember that even when we're struggling, the universe is still there, holding us, guiding us, and loving us unconditionally.
One of the most profound gifts of surrender is that it allows us to experience a deep sense of peace and joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances.
So it's about finding that inner peace even when the world around us feels chaotic.
Exactly. The article describes this inner peace as something that's always there, waiting for us to uncover it.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of fear and worry to reveal the peace that's been within us all along.
And as we continue surrendering to the flow of life, we start to see that things naturally fall into place more easily.
It's like we're aligning with the natural rhythm of the universe.
Exactly. And that alignment brings all sorts of amazing synchronicities, chance encounters, and opportunities that we could never have planned for.
It's magical to witness how things unfold when we let go of control and trust in the bigger picture.
It truly is. Speaking of which, I want to remind our listeners about that wonderful online community we've been talking about, etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Yes, it's a great resource for anyone interested in exploring these themes of spirituality, personal growth, and surrender.
They have a wealth of information on meditation, mindfulness, intuition, and connecting with your higher self.
It's a great place to connect with like-minded individuals and deepen your understanding of these concepts.
And as we wrap up this part of our conversation on surrender, I wanted to leave you with this beautiful thought from the article. What if the challenges we face are not obstacles, but rather divine invitations to step more fully into our power?
It's almost like those challenges are pushing us to surrender, to let go of our old ways of being and embrace something new.
Yeah, like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Exactly. And speaking of transformation, I love how the meditation video talks about the universe as this loving, supportive force that's always guiding us toward our highest good.
It reminds us that we're not alone in this process, that we're held and supported every step of the way.
I think that's such a reassuring message, especially when we're facing those moments of doubt or uncertainty.
It is.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to that essential idea of trust, which is really at the core of surrender.
Trusting that even when things feel difficult or confusing, there's a bigger picture unfolding that we might not fully grasp yet.
And trusting that the universe, or whatever higher power we connect with, has a plan for us that's even better than anything we could have come up with on our own.
It's like we're being invited to take a leap of faith and see where it leads us,
Absolutely. And that leap of faith often involves letting go of our need to control every little detail.
which can be really scary, I have to admit.
It can be, but the more we practice surrender, the more we realize that it's not about giving up, it's about opening ourselves up to something much greater.
It's about tapping into that flow of universal energy and allowing it to guide us.
And when we do that, we often find that things start to fall into place in ways we could never have orchestrated ourselves.
It's like we're co-creating with the universe, allowing it to work its magic through us.
And speaking of magic, I wanted to mention that wonderful resource again, etherealenergeticvibes.com.
Yes, it's a great website for anyone who's interested in diving deeper into these concepts of surrender, spirituality, and personal growth.
They have so many great articles, guided meditations, and online courses that can help you explore these ideas and find what resonates with you.
So if you're feeling inspired to learn more, definitely check them out.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into the power of surrender, I want to leave our listeners with this beautiful affirmation from the meditation video. I am open to receiving all the blessings the universe has in store for me.
And I'll add one more thought. I trust in the divine timing of my life, knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly as it should. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of surrender, and we'll see you next time on the Divine Frequency Online Podcast.